I'm ready to tear into this.
So these bitches be burb.
They burb. They burb hard. Do you remember what was happening before we burped?
No. Yeah, no, I do.
Everyone was traumatized.
The bird burbs. It burbs for thee.
In 1996, Scholastic began publishing Animorphs. Over the next 6 years, Catherine Applegate and her husband Michael Grant, under the pseudonym K.A. Applegate, produced 54 main series books, several spin-offs, and inspired a TV series, graphic novels, and a cult following. We can't tell you where we live. We can't even tell you our last names. But we can tell you our thoughts and feelings on this series book by book. I'm Eddy.
I'm Chris.
I'm Miranda.
And we're
the Anadorks.
These may be kids' books, but we discuss dark themes and mature content. There may also be some explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
So we're flying to the quarry. The quarry.
We're flying to the quarry.
The quarry.
We've got our distress beacon.
I'm distressed.
This is Marco's last mission, and we've got an Axabird morph to fly to the quarry.
Yeah, but we didn't really think about it too hard. We just sort of added to our weird collection of awful birds. I don't even know what a harrier looks like.
Instead of listening to us in our very informative podcast in our episodes on book 3, which you think they would have done, and just getting one goose morph and flying as a flock of geese, which would look totally normal.
Yeah, they'll get there eventually.
Or using our seagull morphs from book 4.
Yeah, they have seagull morphs.
All of a sudden, Cassie has no access to any of these animals. They can't get any of these morphs.
Her parents grounded her.
I did have one thought, and that thought is we don't know if you have to be like in your real form, quote unquote, to acquire an animal. So
right.
They
That's
can't,
a good point.
Like,
so,
because when Axe gets the lobster morph, he's already morphed back into an Andalite at that point. So,
right.
like, they can't just take him maybe as a human to the gardens and have him touch things as a human. Like, maybe it doesn't
that's
work.
a good question. So, yeah, can you not absorb morphs when you're morphed? But they could say that if that was a problem.
No,
They
it would
haven't
be easy
said
to
it.
just say that, but also, like, they haven't said that's not what's going on.
But I do think that the seagulls, those are not hard to acquire. You do not have to go to the gardens to acquire a seagull.
That's true.
Literally any parking lot, just grab one.
The other
People
thing
will be
I
like,
want to
"Oh."
know,
Or just shoot one out of the sky.
can you
Well, they
acquire...
don't they have to be alive, Eddie?
Yeah.
They haven't
we
said
don't
You
know.
have to get to it.
We don't know.
Who said we
And
were killing it, Eddie?
do you have to acquire a morph from a non-morphed version of the animal? Could they just morph
Interesting,
into
yeah.
a seagull?
Oh, gross.
Which could really speed up the whole factory line thing that we talked about
Yeah.
with generating wolf cub. So while we're on this subject, we just started, but I have a question that I hadn't thought of until this point. Where are all of Axe's morphs from before they got to Earth? Does he not have a flying morph from whatever the Andalite home planet is
This
called?
is an annoyingly good question.
Maybe kids aren't allowed to morph in the Andalite Society?
He has the power, though.
It seems like Earth has more diversity of life.
Yeah.
That is a strong implication that the books are doing, for sure.
Right
yeah.
now, it seems that Hork Bajir were the only people on the Hork Bajir planet. Taxxons
Yeah.
were the only animals on.
All very monoculture-y, sort of D&D logic of like,
I mean, of
and in
course-
the elf realm, there's only elves.
Of course, they did tell us that, like, the Yeerks wipe out any species that's not useful to them. So
True.
But even
Maybe that
It's
was
true.
some.
the Visser seems to imply at one point that, like, breadth of species here is different and
Right,
and
He
remarkable.
loves all the animals on, especially cats.
We're flying
To the quarry, and Axe is excited, and Chris found this annoying, but I found it charming.
Well,
I just thought it was going to be the whole coffee
he won't
episode
shut up
all over
about
again.
It. Yeah, he's like, flags up, bastard. Oh my God, have you guys realized these warm updrafts? So what do you call such a thing? And like,
It's like when I'm listening to a Mars Volta song and I'm like, are you even hearing this? This is so good.
That's my
You don't
entire
even
adolescence.
understand. Yeah, and guess what? I was really obnoxious and really irritating.
Yeah. And so they're enjoying flying so much that Marco proposes just calling the whole thing off because they're nervous about this mission, which feels like a suicide mission, but they don't. They make it to the quarry, which is an open gash in the earth.
Weirdly
That's how they
vaginal.
describe it. Yeah. She loves the
I
word
don't
gash.
think that's the first time I've
Yeah.
said that. I don't think that's the first time
No.
I've had to say that a description was weirdly vaginal. And like, I'm the one who edits this podcast, and I pull out lots of sex things that we say. And this, I feel like this one has to stay in. I don't.
It's overt, yeah.
So aggressive. Like, Rachel's got the biggest bird morph. And as the biggest bird, Rachel is asked to carry the little distress beacon, which they say looks like a small TV remote.
She's always the biggest morphs.
And so they've got it, they're bringing it, and they arrive at the quarry, and they don't have shoes.
They never have shoes. And they always have to remind us of how cool they are, walking around barefoot, whatever. I'm
And
over
they
it.
start joking around, you know, Rachel's like, don't talk about uniforms again. And Michael's like, oh, haha, you know. And then he's
Well,
like,
he says like, we look like a trapeze act from a cheap circus. Like, he is very opinionated about the fact that they should have good uniforms.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a sticking point for him. And so Chris makes a good point here. So Marco talks, he's stuck on the fact that this is his last mission and he won't be an Animorph anymore. And he's thinking about, I'm going to miss hanging out with an alien. I'm going to miss the flying. And Chris brought up in their notes that Marco could keep flying. Marco doesn't have to stop morphing. It's not like handing in a badge and keys, you said.
a badge and gun.
Badge and gun.
It was a
Yeah.
badge and keys.
Whatever cops carry. Yeah.
Famously, cops have everybody's keys to the front door.
They're also landlords.
I do think it's interesting that, like, he keeps stressing the fact that he would be absolute in his leaving of his duties. Like, he would be like, no, I would go back to being a normal person, which I feel like would get really weird.
I don't
Because,
know.
like,
There's no half in with the Animorphs, maybe, you know? Like, there's no.
how do you mean?
Maybe just like he thinks it's not fair of him to use his powers for fun if he's not going to use them to help.
I don't fully buy it yet, but I'll entertain it. I just think, like, imagine you were an Animorph. You named the group Animorphs.
That's
You
true.
suggested the cool outfits. Then you quit, and you went on to form your next superhero group, who's fighting another species of aliens who's invading.
The Andalites.
And imagine he immediately becomes a Marco controller.
Yeah, he keeps pitching this as X-Men, and he's just like, I'm going to go join Magneto's team. They've got cool outfits. Like,
He seems to be winning. Yeah. One more thing I wanted to say about the uniforms is I don't like that they keep shutting him down on this because honestly, maybe he would have stuck around a little bit longer if they had cool
Yeah, maybe they'd
uniforms.
been-
Maybe
Yeah.
if they took his suggestion seriously.
I think he should start with
Yeah.
making his own uniform.
Yeah, like
And
Rachel
then-
could be like, yeah, let's go pick out fabric at Joanne Fabrics. That sounds fun.
yeah, no, but if he showed up with his own uniform and was like, this is what I'm thinking, and they were like, wow, that looks really cool. Maybe you were right. We should all wear, you got to be the change you want to see in the world, Marco.
That doesn't stop you from asking for help, Like, you could be like, okay, I'm not the best at sewing. My mom's dead. My dad is a vegetable.
I'll be in on Monday.
Could somebody please help me sew?
So they're sitting around. Marco's thinking about, these things and how's it going to go? How's Axe going to be? Is he going to be okay? And all those things. So he's sitting there and he's like, I guess I looked kind of down in the dumps because Jake just came over and just like pushed my face into the ground. I'm sorry. He gave me a gentle shove in a friendly way.
Yeah, and
man.
she doesn't want us to forget that they're in a quarry too. So of course, Marco's not just sitting there; he's sitting on a pile of rocks, and
Pile of
they
rocks.
keep
What the
mentioning
hell
this
is that?
overhang.
You're totally right. Like, this is the most vividly described area in the entire books. Like, we were in a freaking underground base with a Yeerk pool, and I can't remember what it looks like at all.
Well,
There was a
it's
hole
about
in
the
this
size of a
quarry?
couple of football
Yeah.
stadiums.
You could have fit a fleet of buses
Couple
through
of
there.
malls.
But if you remember this quarry, like, I know this quarry. Like, I can visualize it like it's an
all
episode
look
of Game
the
of Thrones.
Because
Yeah,
they're like,
but maybe
oh,
that's-
quarry.
I-
It's like, oh, quarry. It's a big hole in the ground with some water in it. And you're like, yep, that's the
you say
quarry.
that-
Like-
You say that, but I've driven by plenty of quarries, and I feel like they don't all look the same. I think we need to stop saying this about my favorite land type.
I just feel like everything we learned about this quarry is exactly what you would expect to find at a quarry.
Central casting for Quarry.
They don't even bother to warn you not to go swimming in a quarry, which I think is the most important thing to do if you
Honestly,
ever bring up a quarry. Don't go swimming in quarries.
Only fly there if you're in bird morph.
No, don't fly there in bird
morph.
morph because you won't be able to get out because you can't catch a thermal.
That's
the
true.
problem.
So if you're going to go there
point.
in bird morph, make sure it's a bird that flaps.
Like you want your songs to slap and your birds to flap. Let's go. One last detail about the last thing, because I really like this note, Ed. He's talking about how, like, if he leaves the Animorphs, he won't get to hang out with Axe anymore. And he's like, you know, I'm really going to miss Axe. I mean, how often do you get to hang out with a real life alien? This whole mission is getting rid of Axe.
That's why he's so keen to quit after this one. He's like, what's the point?
Yeah, if you're not going to ship me with Axe to his homeworld, like, why am I even here?
Oh, I thought you were just talking about shipping him with Axe.
Yes, which we all already do. So,
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah, we're Axe and Mark are truthers.
Axco.
so-
Mark Axe.
Mark Axe. I hate it.
there's got to be a name already out there, right?
I'll Axe around.
Axe presses the button, and Axe seems to know that the distress beacon is working.
I don't know. Maybe it emits, maybe the frequency is audible to him.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like,
maybe that could be.
He's like, oh, God, you can't hear this? Oh, my God, it's awful. I have such a migraine.
Just to prepare, they all go into their most powerful morphs. Rachel morphs into an elephant. They all need to have different morphs for some reason. That seems to be important to them.
Cassie still hasn't gotten a useful fighting morph on purpose. Like she goes into the wolf morph that she got in book 3, which she didn't get for the purposes of fighting. Like even in the book 1, she just shows up as a horse. And I'm like, girl.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, horses are, like, they're deadly to humans, but I don't think horses would do well against.
I honestly think this is just a problem of hers was the dolphin book and she can't morph into a dolphin.
Yeah,
in the
she just
quarry.
wants to morph a dolphin all the time.
So she doesn't have a really good aggressive morph. You're absolutely right.
Also,
And
when
in
she
fact,
morphs into the wolf, he notes her long yellow teeth. So I guess tartar morphs with your DNA?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What? Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
no.
wolf had long yellow teeth. The original
yeah.
copy. It's not Cassie's tartar.
Well, yeah,
No, I mean, I
I guess
understand
the
that,
tartar comes with the DNA. It's like wounds don't,
Yeah,
but I guess the tartar,
true,
it's
I
like,
see.
oh, you know, I can regrow my tail, but gingivitis, I'm fucked.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
By that logic, we should all just stop brushing our teeth.
Rachel in an elephant morph. Jake slowly becomes a tiger. That feels like a judgment on Jake's morphing abilities. Cassie becomes a wolf, and Marco becomes a gorilla. Marco just never mentions Tobias the rest of the book.
That's true.
I know he's already a red-tailed hawk.
It really does feel that way. He saves Tobias for really specific moments.
we do get an all fours moment in here, literal word for word falling to all fours moment for Cassie.
Yeah, word for word. Pretty amazing.
And Rachel is a pretty blonde supermodel, Rachel, who grows a trunk as thick as a small.
Why?
It's all about her size. The rest
Why
of it.
does he do this?
She's a huge elephant.
You know what? When we see Marco at Comic-Con, we're going to have to ask him
how that
about
works.
this. Okay? I really want to know. Like, what's the deal, man?
And Jake, his snake-like tail whips out behind him. It whips
And
out.
orange is the new black fur covered him.
Eye roll.
Yeah, loud eye roll.
Marco also notes, if something deadly can ever be beautiful, it's a tiger.
Then they all get into a bout of, friendly ribbing about who could beat whom in a fight. And Axe comments on the amazing variety of animals on the planet and says that they're going to turn it into a tourist destination. So, once they finally defeat the Yeerks.
Casually dropping his plans for the planet.
And then, weirdly, after saying it, Marco just hits this joke on the nose. Joe Andalite, you've just won the Super Bowl. Now where are you going? I said, mimicking Disney World commercials. I'm going to Earth to turn into a lobster.
Hell yeah.
It's so silly.
And Axe says,
but the whole,
I don't understand.
Yeah, it's not a joke for him. He's like,
he's not really figured out jokes
And then
yet.
this is the weirdest part of the book, though. Like 2 or 3 pages of the book going forward is him explaining what Disney, like who Walt Disney was and what Disneyland was and how then they made Disney World and Epcot and the World of Tomorrow and like all that stuff.
I want everyone to
And
know
it's-
that like at least once a book, Chris does this bit where they just insert several pages into the book to explain to the audience.
I was
that
so
cut
confused for a
from
moment.
like every book. So they just keep doing it.
Well, because it never makes it in, I never get closure, so I have to keep doing it.
I was like, I'm flipping through going, Disney. I like that it's not just Axe's distress beacon. It's Axe's homemade distress beacon. So I'm imagining it with
made
like
with
duct tape
love.
on it. But he has a button on it. He has a blinking red light. I think he did pretty well. So just in case anyone forgot that we were in a quarry, no, you fucked my brain.
Yes, I did it. I got it.
Jake slinks away. So they press the button. Quick, everyone to your places. The Yeerks are coming. Jake slinks away, liquid power, to hide in the shadow of a boulder. We're in a quarry.
Why did you pass over liquid power? What are you trying to hide there?
Rachel pressed back under the shallow overhang. Like everyone's just in a very rocky area. And then the ship comes in, swoosh.
And Marco says, "Here's your ride home, Axe." Swoosh.
Swoosh. Bug fighter comes in and flew in once again. Yeah, I guess it's like circling around them to check out the area. Right, yeah. And finds the spot on the floor of the quarry, and the bug fighters. The bug fighters are the smallest of the Yeerk ships. They aren't much bigger than a school bus.
Just one.
They have a cowled, insect-like look. This description makes it sound kind of cute, though. So they look a little like a cockroach holding two spears, which is delightful.
I want all cockroaches to be dead.
The idea of it holding two spears is a little bit cute.
That's a little cute.
I got him. That's pretty cute. Wait for it, Jake said. Wait for it.
He did say that.
They're going to jump the Taxxons.
They're hiding behind a boulder, the one boulder in the quarry.
And the hatch opens, and the bait steps out. The Hork Bajir bait.
We don't know it's bait. It's a fearsome Hork Bajir.
Yeah, we got a long list of reasons to be scared of Hork Bajir.
They have nasty spiked tails, which I don't think I knew. I can't visualize a Hork Bajir.
They have so many pointy things. Like, really, I think if you just take your knife drawer,
glue it to a lizard, that's what you're going to get.
So, I've never seen Star Trek, but I want to know if you two think this is true. This is Marco's thought. If Klingons were real, they would be scared of Hork Bajir. Chris says no.
Only if they were a bad Klingon. The Klingon life motto is, "It is a good day to die."
I should really take that on. That would help me a lot.
So they're warriors of Star Trek.
They are warriors, and they're like, it is a good day to die, meaning any day is a good day to die in the glory of combat. So no, the Klingons would not be afraid.
It's not like the nihilistic way that I say it every morning, where I'm like, well, if they take me.
To quote our grandmother, Chris, every morning I wake up and I say, fine.
Fine. I'll do it again. God, she's so legendary.
Anyway, the Hork Bajir steps out of the bug fighter. There will be a Taxxon inside, Axe reminded us. It's like a prize inside the ship.
Oh, like a little Cracker Jack box.
Yeah.
You shake it and a little Taxxon
like a Kinder egg.
So we have the Hork Bajir gets off of the bug fighter, but just kind of stands there suspiciously, and it makes Marco kind of hesitate. But then
it's like he's not looking around for the source of the distress beacon.
Yeah.
They're not actors, the Hork Bajir.
Apparently this one isn't. Do you think they went through the entire troop of Hork Bajirs and was like, who's the best actor? And then they had them doing improv games to see it's auditioning for their own sort of musical that they're going to perform and trapping the Animorphs.
Which you think anything Yeerk possessed would have to be a good actor, because the Yeerk has to play the part of the...
Well, but now that all the Hork Bajir are enslaved, I guess they probably don't. They probably put their worst actors in the Hork Bajir and Taxxons, because they don't have to act like anything.
They just are warriors, yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
Jake starts counting on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Tobias enters. Seer!
And then in a move that we've all become very familiar with, he rips the eyes out of the Hork Bajir's face.
Yeah,
he loves
that's like
eyes.
A straight up cut and paste. Yeah.
Yeah. It's his thing. Jake leaps from cover. The Hork Bajir went down hard.
That's hard.
And
sorry.
It just feels too easy. I think Rachel comes over and stomps on him and holds him there.
She pins him down with her giant elephant leg. And he just lays there. He's just okay.
Marco, Cassie, and Axe go into the ship. They take care of the Taxxon. But then we get so many good sound effects here too. We get Tobias saying "seer." We get Jake roaring. Then we get the zap of the Dracon beams, which seem to be you could set a Dracon beam to stun or to kill, right? That's kind of the impression I'm getting.
Oh, I have not seen it.
We haven't seen it set to stun, but this seems like... So the difference in the way the Dracon beams are here is that they seem to be a consistent, like they're holding their beam and they make like a cage out of them, blocking their path into the ship, stopping them from
it's
going
not
to the
so
ship,
much,
and make like a cage around them so they can't go anywhere.
But, I mean, the way it's described, like, the beams are exploding gravel into steam.
Yeah, that's
like,
wild.
They are not set to stun. I think it would just slice through you like a lightsaber.
Yeah, we're in a scene where it's very confusing how high up the Hork Bajir and everyone are. So they're at the top of the quarry, and I would imagine that it's a pretty deep quarry and that they're some distance away. But then, so they're surrounded, and Rachel shouts, "Let's charge them," as if she can just get right up to them. She's an elephant right now.
She's a freaking elephant, not known for their climbing ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like over 100 Hork Bajir have surrounded them with Dracon beams, forming this cage of vaporizing light. And then
they're standing up, and they're standing up on the top of the quarry too.
Yeah.
Like it's like elevated. They're like looking down upon them. Like these guys are so trapped.
And like how did Tobias not
surrounded.
know that this was happening? How did
That's
he not
what I
see
wanna
them?
know. He got, honestly, he was so focused on the task at hand and being excited he got to come on a mission. He forgot that he is in permamorph as the scout.
I also think like the deep valleys of the quarry that they thought were going to be to their benefit, what they thought was going to be to their benefit really came back to bite them, in that I think Tobias was hovering like right at the top of this like valley and couldn't see over the walls of it.
Yeah,
Like,
I think Tobias feels like an afterthought not only to Marco, but kind of to this book. Tobias and Cassie are backburnered in this book.
Maybe like I'm not convinced that Tobias is the best first attack. Like he's so fragile.
Well, who would eat the Hork Bajir's eyes, though, Chris?
You're right that it's a brand thing. I get that. But like, you know, I think when they briefed this Hork Bajir for this mission, they're like, remember, one of them's a hawk. He's going to go for your eyes.
You know what
like,
he did to
had
Dave.
To have talked about that. Yeah, you know what he did to Dave. Exactly.
That's why the Hork Bajir walks out like this, like covering his eyes.
Covering
like,
his eyes, and Marco's like, there's something. I'm ready. Send the hawk.
He's just covering them and he's like, oh no, what was this distress beacon about?
Please help yourself into the bug fighter, as I cannot see.
Marco gets very dramatic in his narration about this, about the fact that they've walked into this trap. The reality settled over us, the despair, and they all start screaming, "What are we going to do?" Cassie wailed. "There has to be a way out. There has to be." They're in a quarry. Rachel's shouting this. And then Visser 3 shows up.
Can I just say, like, I'm new to the genre, okay? And I don't want to be weird, but the extent to which our spirit has to be broken every book, it's a little bizarre.
Yeah.
It's like TV logic, right? Like, we grew up on Pokemon, and I feel like there was always one at the 20-minute mark. They were 30-minute episodes, right? Roughly 20-minute mark. There was a commercial break.
Two
right
10-minute episodes. Two 10-minute episodes with like 10 minutes of commercials.
But there was always that point before the final commercial where everything seemed lost, and then you come back from the commercial, and they're like the same moment, and then they overcome it very quickly. It's like maybe friendship won't work this time, and then friendship ends up working.
Believe in the heart of the cards, Yugi.
Yeah. So Visser 3 shows up. He looks
does.
a lot like Axe, and yet totally different. And then Marco gets very, very dramatic about
The
it.
difference wasn't something you saw, all right?
Something you felt.
It was something you felt.
A shadow on your soul, a darkness that blotted out the light of the sun, evil, destruction. He got kind of into it at the end there.
So this is something, it's going to come up a number of times before the end. We're reminded about their experience as ants over and over again here. And this is the first time, I think, where, like, I'm not thinking of the ants as we're reading this whole exciting back end of the book, but we get not the impersonal programmed destructiveness of the ants. This was warm-blooded, deliberate evil.
Warm blood.
Yeah.
So I need one of you to explain what happened here, because I don't get it. He shows up, he has this dramatic entrance, and he goes, well, well, I have you at last, my brave Andalite bandits. He said that a few times now. Fools! Do you think we never change our frequencies? What mistake did they make?
So, well, Miranda, do you want to take
No,
it?
it's like it's the same thing, right? So you change out your codes. It's like any sort of cipher or any sort of thing that you use, you change out your codes every time. I mean, even in Star Wars, when the freaking Millennium Falcon is trying to get into an Imperial ship, they're like, we have this code. And like on the fucking Imperial ship, it shows them, it's like, it's a bit of an old code, sir, but it checks out. And then they let them in. But like, that's like stupid. Like if
You're not supposed to let them in with the old code. That's the whole fucking point of changing the code.
The distress beacon contacted an old code, basically. None of the Animorphs want to talk to Visser 3 because they don't want to give away that they're human, because apparently Visser 3 would be able to tell from their thought speech voices,
their thought accents.
Yeah, it's either that or just because like opening a direct line with Visser 3, when his voice is in your head, it makes you so scared that I think they're afraid if they say anything, they'll just like blurt out that they're humans.
Axe doesn't follow this. Axe, because he's in an Andalite morph already, he says, Yeerk! And Visser 3 focuses on Axe and says, a little one, which is just a couple times we've heard that Axe is big, but Visser 3 sees Axe as like a very young Andalite.
Yeah, he's smaller, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, we don't even know if that means physically. There might just be something about him that to someone who's familiar with Andalites is obviously...
Right, he's talking like a teen.
Yeah.
To reference a Tegan and Sarah song.
Yeah, and he says, are the Andalites now reduced to using their children to fight? So just a reminder that I don't think of Axe this way for some reason, but Axe is like also basically the equivalent of a 12-year-old is an Andalite. Yeah. And Visser 3 has a similar plan to what Axe suggested. He wants to try out all of the wonderful animals as morphs.
Yeah, but he wants to do it in a weird way. He's like, no, before... he's not being fun about it. He's not like, oh, come to Earth and try surfing. And while you're at it, try a shark. He's like, I want the whole place to myself.
That's true.
Want it. I want
because none
Earth
of the
like
Yeerks can morph except him.
Yeah, and he's like, I want it like it's my own little morph jacuzzi, and I'm just going to roll around with all your animals. And
I hate this.
Well, I'm not the one saying it. I think he's the one saying it.
You know what's so funny is this Yeerk that's inside, that Yeerk had this same personality even growing up. He was a star in his first Yeerk pool. Like this is how he was talking long before he got into this Andalite's body.
It's true. It's true.
Big Yeerk, small pool kind of situation, you know? Like,
Jake did snarl.
Jake snarls a little
with his
bit.
tiger lip.
Visser 3 again admires the tiger, as he had a bit back in book 2. He mentions that he really liked the tiger. And Chris's note here on Visser 3's admiration for the tiger is, it's like some sort of big, how you say, Fluffers McKitty.
I just learned what this animal is called.
I like that he remembered the name, but not the name of the animal. It's like they kept trying to tell him. It's like, oh, it's my daughter's cat, Fluffers McKitty. And he's like, this is a Fluffers McKitty, you say. It's like, no, this is a cat. Fluffers, I see. Like,
yeah.
No. It's just a cat. Never mind. It's fine.
It's fine. Whatever you want to call it,
Whatever
sir.
you want to say, sir.
So Visser 3 was going to demand that they demorph before he took them in, but he wants to show them to a special guest aboard the mothership today, and that is Visser 1.
This is so bananas. I'm gonna I won't take long on this, but holy shit, this guy does not know how to follow protocol. He would have killed them 5 times over if he had just followed fucking protocol.
But Chris, he is the greatest showman on earth, and he has to make a whole production out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. He's an artist, but like,
he's like, why be Visser 1 when I could be Visser Fun? Like,
yeah. Following his character type, Visser 3 gives away the fact that he hates Visser 1.
It's true.
He can't help it.
Oh my God, my boss is a freaking idiot.
Yeah. He's just
like,
so
I'll be so
expressive.
excited to show you to our guest. Visser 1.
Did you catch that? Yeah, Visser 3 doesn't like
subtle.
Visser 1.
It was very subtle.
Yeah. So then the blade ship, Visser 3 gives some sort of signal, which I don't think it's thought speech. I think he
I
has
think
a
he
hand
does like
gesture.
a little finger wave.
His dainty paw.
This dainty
Yes, his
hoof.
dainty paw. Yeah.
And then the blade ship lands, which is Visser 3's ship, right?
Yeah. Can you do the description? Can you talk about what a blade ship fucking looks like?
So the blade ship is far larger than the bug fighters, very different. It is jet black. It's built like some kind of battle axe from the Middle Ages with 2 curved axe head wings and a long diamond pointed handle aimed forward. I really thought you were going to interrupt me there with battle who?
I should have done that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. No.
Rachel has not caught up to the fact that they're in a quarry yet. She says we're better off making a run for it.
That's true.
She thinks they're in a quandary.
Which they are.
Find yourself in a quandary at the quarry. That's a recipe for disaster.
A quarrel?
You have a quarrel over the quandary at the quarry.
The quarry, yes, exactly.
There's another episode
I know some
title.
words. We have to quash the quarrel over the quandary at the quarry.
Quite a quibble. Quite a quibble.
Quite a quibble.
Let's quit quibbling over the quandary at the quarry. Like, all right, let's just move on.
So then they get loaded onto the blade ship.
Some of the tech that they talk about here is really cool, like the door growing for Rachel to go in, and like they,
right, because he's not going to demorph them.
Yeah.
He's breaking protocol to not demorph them, so he has to make the door all these weird animal shapes.
That's true. Oh my god, that is the sole reason that these cool doors are here. And then the kids go to space.
They do. But Marco has to, as they're being taken to space, it doesn't feel exciting, He's reminded that tomorrow is the 2-year anniversary of his mom's disappearance, and his dad would be going to her grave alone. And just like when his mom died, they would never find his body.
Just like his mom.
Just like his mom.
Just like his mom?
Which, I don't know why they're mentioning that.
Yeah, you know what? That's really weird. I didn't notice that when I was reading the book for the 3rd time.
And so then they're in space, and they're trying to think of a plan for how to handle this, but things aren't looking good for the
they've put them in some sort of cage that is just like dimly lit black on all 6 sides. Like there's no door, no windows. Doors and windows appear sometimes, but like
there's like a little bit of light. This next part blows my mind because Marco makes the same joke again. We look like some kind of circus, I said. An elephant, a tiger, a gorilla, a wolf, and a freak of nature. And then this part weirds me out. That got some half-hearted laughs from the others. I don't know why I was making jokes. I guess that's the way I am. But the thing is like, why is he so fucking mean to frickin' Tobias?
See, you assumed that was about Tobias, and I guess it must be. I assumed it was about Axe.
Oh my god.
But then it's almost worse
now
that he's not mentioning Tobias. He's leaving one of them out.
When they were freaking out his aunts, he excluded Axe, so I'm guessing that pattern continues.
Because if he sees him as part of the group, then, he'll have to admit that he's going to keep seeing him, and then he might have to come to terms with some feelings.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not trying to catch feels right now. He's trying to quit his job.
Yeah. Cassie suggested they should just demorph. Maybe if they realize we aren't Andalites, they'll let us go. Marco says, she knew that was dumb, of course, but when you're scared, you start grabbing at anything. You want to believe there's a way out. I still thought that was pretty dumb.
Yeah, they're not going to let them go,
options.
But like, it might increase their likelihood of being yeerked as opposed to killed.
True. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not a fate worse than death. Many people choose it willingly.
That's what I've heard.
It actually sounds kind of cool.
If they got yeerked while they were in morph, would that yeerk, upon yeerking them, discover that they weren't really the animal that they were morphed as?
So, oh God.
I don't know.
Well, then also, how does Visser 3 even work? Because there's a Yeerk in his head that's not a part of the Andalite that's morphing into other things.
That's true. So I guess that confirms that fluids in your body,
your piss goes with
you.
Yeah.
Why does that confirm that?
Because he's a Yeerk in his head. He's a fluid in his head.
Yeah, he's like foreign material.
Oh. This is interesting. So the fact that
that Visser 3 can morph confirms that P morphs with you.
Yes. That's our working theory. That's the standard model.
We should let's just get K.A. Applegate on the line right now. Let's bring her into this.
I cannot wait for like in book 23 when one of them's like, should I pee before I morph? No, piss doesn't come with you, right? And then Tobias is like, oh my God, guys, we have this conversation every fucking week. Pee before you morph, piss comes with.
Piss comes with. That's going on like
piss comes
that's
with.
Gotta go on a
shirt.
tumbler. I think that's like a glass.
Yeah.
Piss comes with.
Yeah.
Oh my God, piss comes with for a beer. A beer. Yes. I want to drink an IPA out of a piss comes with a fucking pint glass. Yeah.
Okay, so they decide they should stay in Animal Morph because what Jake is worried about is that Visser 3 will come for their families next. And then we get a review of which family members Marco cares about. His dad, Cassie's parents.
He ranks them.
Yeah, power rankings. His dad, Cassie's parents, Rachel's mom, Rachel's sisters named Jordan and
Samantha? Sarah.
Shit.
No,
I don't
Sarah,
remember.
I think you're right.
Jake's parents, maybe even Jake's brother, Tom, although he was one of them. He doesn't mention Rachel's dad.
A local celebrity.
And he doesn't mention Tobias' aunt and uncle, too. And we know one of them lives nearby, but I guess they're not great. So.
They deserve to get found out, actually, honestly, for not being concerned about Tobias having not been home in a month and a half.
Yeah, though they would also be useless controllers, probably.
That's true, that's possible.
They could get them working at the park.
Oh, right, the park ranger controllers. Helicopter pilot controllers.
Yes. Anyone can be, that's entry level, I think. Okay, so they're on the Blade ship, right? And the weird technology with the doors works also for the windows, and it opens up and they're able to see out and they see Earth for the first time from space.
Which is like crazy to imagine. Like imagine like you're in a coffin like space, right?
Yeah.
And it's just barely dim and you're just a bunch of animals in a space barely big enough. And then just the wall opens up. And you can just see perfectly through it. Like that's
I feel like they didn't freak out enough about it.
Yeah.
I guess because they were about to die, but
Yeah.
And then like, you know, like a frickin' first year art student, Visser 3 has them pan slowly over from the Earth to
the Yeerk
his
mothership.
alien ship.
Yeah.
The Yeerk mothership.
I want to get the scene of him giving those orders.
He's like, that's good. That's good. That should be giving them hope.
Keep the boom out of the shot. Like,
God damn it, Gary, lift the boom.
we get a description of the ship.
It was pretty cool, I guess.
A gigantic three-legged insect, which insects famously have twice that many legs. And then the sphere, which was flatter on bottom, so again, not a sphere. It's just a whole lot of confusing description here.
Yeah, from the bottom hung a weird, mismatched series of tendrils, like the tendrils of a jellyfish. Each one must have been a quarter mile long. It's the only time we actually get a unit of measurement.
We get a real unit of measurement in space with nothing to compare it to, A. And B, it's not even big in terms of interstellar size.
And then around the sphere were 3 legs bent up, then back down, exactly like a spider's legs. I couldn't visualize this. The jellyfish, I got that.
I just imagine a jellyfish in space.
And then Axe says that basically all their shit is hanging in the tendrils. The legs are the engines somehow, and then everything else is just in the tendrils. It's like Kandrona in the tendrils, sensors, weapons, energy collectors, tendrils. It's just like shove it all down there. What's the sphere for? We don't know. We don't know.
They see that, and they're freaked out, though. The description doesn't do much for me as a reader, but they're freaked out when they see us, because Axe says they want us to despair. That's why Visser 3 is showing them this. We don't get an appropriate reaction to the fact that they're up here in space. It's more what they're seeing as they approach the mothership.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would seem to be.
Axe tells us that Earth is not so different than the Andalite planet, which I think we've heard before, right?
Yeah, they've said that sort of before. We've been told that the atmospheres are similar and stuff like that.
They have less ocean and more grassland. So they enter into the mothership and they dock there, right?
Yeah.
And through the window, they can see the Hork Bajirs and the Taxxons, and then 2 or 3 other alien species in simple red or dark brown uniforms, which means that everyone, I had always imagined that only the humans were in the uniforms, but everyone
for sure
in the uniforms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Marco's got the right idea. That's why the Yeerks are winning.
uniforms.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So they
colors.
have a moment of hope. Marco has a moment of hope when he sees humans, thinking, "Oh my God, maybe we can talk to someone." And it's like, nope, they're controllers. And then they check in with Axe. They've been in there more 40% of allowable time, so they got to space really fast.
It's really true. Yeah, their bones would have been crushed in the launch. That's a really
But Z
good
space
point.
is magic. Like
It is.
Yeah. They're still trying to figure out a plan, if there's any plan to be made. Tobias and Rachel throw out maybe they should go out in a blaze of glory, just go out and attack right away. They don't really come up with one, but they exit the ship and they're just completely surrounded. But they start to get a sense of like the dynamics of these different controllers, right? Because there are these different uniforms, but they don't seem unified. There seems to be some kind of
we
political
see
struggle.
red and black uniforms and gold and black uniforms. Okay, so we know we've got command and we've got engineering, but we don't know yet if we have security. Oh, sorry.
No, that's 100% Star Trek, isn't it? I can't believe I didn't notice that.
What do we think the Taxxon uniform? Is it a cap? The Taxxon uniform? Is it,
It's just a little, and they're naked otherwise.
I think
Or
they
a
get like a
badge,
little badge,
maybe?
like with the colors, like a little ribbon.
Yeah, but what do they attach it to?
Just
Like
flesh.
they're-
they just stab
Oh,
them.
God.
I'm
don't feel
sorry.
pain, Chris.
It's pretty rough. The other thing is, if they do have a hat, if it goes on top, that's where their mouth is.
Yeah, they really
It's a
look like
bandana.
leeches.
It's
the
just
more I think about it.
lipstick,
A little
actually.
bandana.
A little bandana.
Oh.
a bow tie?
Little bow tie.
tie.
Oh my God! Like if you have a corgi in your wedding, like that's what it looks like to have a Taxxon on your ship. Like,
I know what if the Yeerks do come,
God,
I know
if-
I'm going to do uniforms for them. I think that's what I'll sign up.
If the Taxxons are that cute, I don't know why we're fighting.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's
it's
their,
like
their Jello eyes.
it's the
Jell-O eyes,
beautiful
the
Jello
wiggly-
eyes.
Like, once you get used to it, it's charming. So we get a little conversation, and we do get a little dark. Marco's like, we put up a good fight, our little circus. We did some damage, like those tails. And
Emphasis on
Axe,
circus.
and then Axe says, do humans fear death? Marco says, we're not crazy about it. How about Andalites? And Axe echoes, they are also not crazy about it.
So our Animorphs, though, they're using some good post-merge strategy here. They're looking for cracks. They don't have the numbers right now,
Yes.
but they're
Literal
looking for
physical-
cracks.
Yes.
And what they notice is that the reds don't like the golds.
So that means if they come to the Animorphs for a swing boat, they suddenly have all the power.
All the power is in their court.
All the power is in their court, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they see them all amassing, and there's all these red and black uniforms and a couple, like maybe 1/4 gold and black uniforms. And then there seem to be some sort of like generic brown uniforms, like that they don't really talk about. And
Which is for the other shapes.
for the other shapes, yeah. And then they feel like, something's going to happen. And Axe points out when they're talking about that the reds and the golds don't like each other, Axe is like, oh yeah, I think they're troops from two different Vissers. I think Vissers each get their own personal army. And so it looks like since we know Visser 1 is here and Visser 3 is here, that's what we've got going on.
It doesn't seem like the best strat. I mean, I guess the Yeerks are like hyper capitalists. Like,
Yeah.
it's just hyper competitive. It just doesn't make sense to me that they would be so willing to shoot themselves in their. Like, Earth must be nothing in the grand
Yeah.
scheme of
Yeah.
things for how casually Visser 1 and 3 are dealing with this situation, which we'll see in a bit.
Yeah, they're
And what
very
is Visser
much
2
like
doing?
using this as like stepping stones and like to climb the ladder. So I'm like, oh, is this not that big a deal? Like, is this
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
a day at the
Yeah.
office? Like,
Yeah. It doesn't scale up when you consider that they have a planet-wide invasion happening. There's a lot of attention being paid on this.
Yeah, and
Town,
that their
yeah.
mothership is only a quarter of a mile
it also
wide.
does't scale down in
Well, they're
that they've
small.
got 47 Vissers. Like,
Wait,
Yeah.
did you? That's true. That's
like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
one little detail I want to catch before we get to the big moment here. Not that there's a big moment coming up, but it feels like it'd be
no.
appropriate. But when they step out of the blade ship, onto the mothership, there's a note about fetid air rushed in, smelling of oil and chemicals and something else. So this is Marco's first time exposed to Yeerk smell.
Well, have they been to the Yeerk pool?
That's an interesting thing is like, I would imagine that is what he's smelling.
But then, while you were talking, Chris, someone interesting walked in.
While I was talking? I'm so sorry. I should have been paying better attention. I didn't realize this book reads itself.
Someone very important.
Who? Is it Kesha?
It's Kesha, yes.
So they're walking in.
Oh, that's wild.
She's walking in next to Visser 3.
Right. All the troops have fallen into huge formation now. It's like some sort of queen funeral
Beyonce.
ceremony. That's Beyonce. Damn it.
As Visser 3 comes walking down, there's a human at his side. And we know Visser 1 has a human body. Visser 1 is a human controller. And this human walks down, a human woman.
Can we just read this last part?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you read the last part?
The Animorphs are sitting, and Marco says that was when I stopped breathing because I knew, even before I could see her face clearly, I knew. Then, in thought speak that all could hear, Visser 3 turned to the woman beside him. You see, Visser 1, I have taken the Andalite bandits. The crisis is over. Your trip here is wasted, and you can return to the homeworld. Visser 1 nodded. She looked up at us with those dark, brown, human eyes. Eyes I knew. Eyes I remembered. The same eyes that watched me sleep every night from the framed picture beside my bed. My mother, Visser 1.
Do we get some sort of award for calling this shit? Because here's the thing. Other podcasts, I bet you they read the books. I bet you they knew. And we're just all like Scooby-Dooing out here, figuring out these little mysteries.
Wait. I had to play dumb. I had read the books.
Wait, you knew?
You knew?
Yeah, I read this one. I read this far.
But you knew when we started book 1.
Yeah.
Wait,
and every time we joked about her being Visser 1, you just pretended?
Dumb? What the hell? What the hell?
This is the real reveal right here.
Oh my God. I had no idea.
This is the real plot twist right here, everybody.
I feel betrayed. Honestly, I don't know if I can trust you. Just Yeerk me now. Take me now. Eddy.
But how does Marco react to finding out?
I don't know. You tell me you read the books.
He sits down. He just plops on his big old gorilla butt and stares into the distance.
I would have laughed if I'd seen it. My mother, not dead.
Honestly, I would pay.
I almost spit
I would
right
pay
there.
so much for just an unhinged Eddy reading of all these books.
Oh my God. But it would have to be truly unhinged. Like it would have to be like you've given up like Miranda and I have given up.
He wants to yell, Mom, it's me, Marco. Another bad idea.
But Jaco's quick in his head like, Marco, man,
Yeah.
don't do it. Don't fucking do it. Just don't you say anything. Don't you fucking say anything.
Yeah. And Marco's still questioning his grip on reality. He's wondering if he imagined it. And Jake's still there, kind of like Tobias when they first turned into ants. Marco, listen to me, man. You have to hold it together.
And he says to him, Marco, that is not your mother. Not anymore. That is not her. And Marco says, Jake, it's my mom. Look, it's her. And my heart breaks into a million pieces.
This is when the whole end of this stupid book, aside from the Benny Hill like escape thing that they do with the yakety, but aside from that, like the rest of this book is like way too emotional, and I have no jokes. In fact, why don't we just start crying? From here on out, this is a sad podcast, except for the Benny Hill moment we're about to get to.
So Visser 1 and Visser 3 exchange some banter where they clearly don't like each other about the morphs. Visser 1's like, it's a gorilla. You know, if you're going to be in charge of Earth, you should at least learn something about the planet. And he's like, oh, what? And take like a weak, wimpy human body? And she's like, bitch, I took a human host and learned about the planet. What the fuck did you do? You just fuck up all the time.
So the Vissers are arguing, and at one point, Visser 3's deadly Andalite tail twitched.
That's true.
Which we know Marco's keeping track of that stuff.
Always.
He's watching
everybody is.
The red troops are too, because they all tense up. And then
when they get home, they're all like, did you see the tail twitch?
But Visser 3 tries to be like holier than thou, be above it all. He's like, you would like to provoke me, Visser 1. But the fact is that I destroyed the Andalite force. I shut down their dome ship. I killed Prince Elfingor myself and heard his dying screams.
This is a lot of useful information for the Animorphs because they're seeing that the Yeerks do not have their shit together.
No.
Yeah, there are cracks. Post-merge strategy. We're in there like swimwear. It's it's a real thing, you know?
We get a Council of 13 call out.
That's right.
They don't like Vissers who make mistakes. And you know they have a list of things they don't like. And that's up there near the top.
It's pinned in the break room, actually. Things the Council of 13 doesn't like.
Just a nice little detail. We know if you're called Visser, you're not on the Council of 13.
That's true.
Yeah.
They're elevated. Yeah. There's something else. They're like priests or something. Are they all little priests?
It's priest. Have a little
like,
priest.
Priest.
Is it really good?
Sir, it's too good, at least. And of course, they don't commit sins of the flesh. So it's pretty fresh.
Okay, we stop.
Our nice, sorry, grateful crossover with the Animorphs.
So Marco spends a lot of time processing the fact that his mom is Visser 1. And
he's proud of her? Like, he's proud that she made it?
Yeah, and like, if she's going to be a
hashtag girl boss?
I thought she was wasting time in the grave somewhere, but actually she's been working this whole time.
But no, we get the same, it's a message that they have been laying on, you know, throughout the course of this first arc and probably for the rest of the books, which is that, like, the person who's yeerked is not doing the things that they're doing. They're often a totally innocent person in all this, and you have to try to separate them from the yeerk in their brain.
And there's this so what we've seen in the book so far is that something that's helpful for the Animorphs about their morphs is that when the human part of them is like the weakest part of them, like Fear with Rachel and the cat morph, or Cassie and the dolphin morph, they can access like the strengths of those morphs. They can call on that to help them in difficult situations. And Marco tries to do that as this powerful gorilla here. He says, slowly, heavily, I stood up. I felt weak, a very strange feeling for a gorilla. I think right then, if I had been in any other morph, I would have just surrendered and let the animal mind take over, let instinct rule and wash away my human emotion. But the gorilla was too much like a human. Its instincts were gentle. Like humans, it was a creature with emotions. It could not protect me from the pain. And now I think that was one of my favorite moments in the...
Yeah, it's really good.
So far, it's kind of what Cassie was talking about the animal minds being too similar to their human minds. Mm-hmm. He can't escape. He has nowhere to run at this moment. And then I actually think through the end of this book, Jake just shows up for Marco.
He really does.
So well.
100%.
And like actually my feelings for him as a character like changed in these last pages. And he's just constantly reminding Marco like we just need to get through this and like helping him through.
And Marco points out to Jake that Jake's the only one who recognized his mom. The others have never seen her. They don't know who she is. And their thought speech up until this point has been private. So Jake probably caught on to that too. And Marco says, you know, please don't tell the others. You are my oldest and best friend. No one will ever know from me. And that's like a really... I don't know, it's really important. I feel like we've heard a lot that Marco and Jake are best friends, but this is the first moment I really feel like we see it.
Yeah. Chris, I know you said there were no more funny moments in the rest of this, but there's a point where Visser 3 is deciding what he's going to do with these Andalite bandits. And he says, 6 Andalite bodies that could be used by my most loyal lieutenants. And then Marco's narration says, axe exploded. Chris wrote, oh no!
Oh God, everywhere, Andalite everywhere. Yeah, but what they actually meant was just that he finally lashed out at Visser 3, his favorite Andalite.
Yeah.
And said, and then there would be others like you filth! Other Andalite controllers, more unnatural abominations like your vile self.
Yeah, which does mean, and this isn't that surprising, but Axe is more upset about the Andalite controllers than he is about the whole bunch of human
so there's like definitely, I don't get a good vibe from the
There's
Andalites.
like an Andalite supremacist thread running through this for sure.
Big time. Like they remind me of elves.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like they're willing
definitely elves.
They're like willing to ally with people only to serve their needs, but they look down upon those they ally with.
But so after this outburst from Axe, Visser 3 almost has a thought. Very nearly completes a thought.
He almost puts it together, but he's a busy man.
He realizes, he goes, why are you the only one who speaks? He, for a moment, realizes that all the others are still in morph. They never talk to him. He's never heard them thought speech. He's never seen them out of morph. And then he goes, curious, very curious. And proceeds to tell them, oh, yeah, no, he's not going to keep them around and let other people acquire morphing abilities. That would be stupid. And then he leaves. He shrugs and he leaves. He's like, take him away.
And he goes back to that thought again. He really looks at them and he's like, there's something not right here. But you know what? It's 4:55. And that whole Visser 1 thing was weird. I'm going to clock out 5 early. I earned it.
Yeah, no, just
yeah.
Kill him if anything. If they give you any trouble, just kill him. If not, we'll kill him later. Yeah,
the shrug is a universal gesture.
A shrug is a universal gesture.
So where we cut to is them in the cell, right?
They get marched down to the cell. Yeah, Tobias rides on Marco's shoulder, which is super cute.
That's cute. Yeah.
Very cute.
Oh, this is our ant metaphor. We have to talk about how the hallways of the ship, with Rachel being so big in her elephant body, she's struggling to fit through the many tunnels of the spaceship, just like the ants in the tunnels below the sand.
They check in. They have 30% of their morph time left.
Which someone points out is 36 minutes. And then Rachel says, 36 minutes and I'll spend the rest of my life as an elephant. Not that the rest of my life is likely to be much time.
Mm-hmm. It may even be less than 36
So they're
minutes.
they've accepted it, I guess.
Yeah, they really have given up.
Not for the first time.
No.
Every book is like Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
It's just
holding hands on the way into the fire. That's what we do.
Yeah, it really is.
So Marco,
that's how we live. That's how we die.
Marco kind
love
of
this moment.
Meditates on this question of when was his mother replaced?
This is devastating.
How much of the time he spent with her was her as a controller? Did she only leave after her job was done? If that is when she left, then how long of, when she had come to his bedroom to say goodnight, had that been a Yeerk? When she saw through him playing sick to try to get out of school, was that a Yeerk? Was it a Yeerk handing out the presents on Christmas morning? A Yeerk singing in the church choir? A Yeerk pulling the puppet strings of my mother's body when she dragged me through JCPenney and made me buy school clothes I didn't really like? Was it a Yeerk I used to find making out with my dad like a teenager when they didn't think I saw them? All of it an act? All of it fake? For how many years? How much of what I'd thought was my mother had been one of them? One thing was sure, he's figured this much out. Her death had been faked.
Thank God that clicked in. I was worried he wasn't going to get there.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is, was this Yeerk the best mom?
Maybe Visser 1 was picked for being the best mom.
Well, we saw with the Chapmans, there was a deal made with the Yeerk and between the Yeerk and the human.
I think that's absolutely probably a play.
What if? So we know that the Animorphs can take a back seat in the brain, right? And we know that the Yeerks can struggle against their hosts. So maybe a deal, maybe not. I don't know.
I love this. I love it.
It could have been a deal to say, we'll give you, 2 more years with your son if you let one of our Yeerks take a ride in your head.
Yeah.
Or
maybe it
could have somehow been secret. Could have been like they captured her and knocked her out and put a Yeerk in her head and she didn't know. And it was just watching and learning how to be a human the whole time.
Oh, wow. And then it woke up out of nowhere covertly. That's fantastic. I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Now they're in this prison cell and they're wondering what they can do now. They're kind of in the same boat they were before. Marco gives a speech that I don't think it lands. I don't think it's Marco's.
Yeah, it really isn't. This is not his best moment.
I have a saying for you. I got it from a fortune cookie. Fall down 7 times, get up 8. You know what that means? That means you don't ever just...
Neither do I.
That means you don't ever just lie there. You always get up. You always come back for more. You never surrender. Maybe you die, but you never surrender. They were all looking at me now through the eyes of a wolf and a hawk and the big, sad eyes of an
big,
elephant.
skeptical elephant.
Yeah. Rachel is sad because she's embarrassed for Marco.
And then Marco's
he
like,
goes,
maybe
"Ants."
there's some cracks in these weird spaceship walls.
And maybe if we get all anti again.
We can just like crawl right through them.
No one ever sees us again. with
Rachel
all of
loves
our
it.
shame.
Rachel's like, I'm fucking sold.
So they're coming up with a plan. Tobias says you have to do what's right for the group. I'll take my chances. I feel better. You guys were still out fighting, making trouble for the Yeerks. Axe says it may work. And then Jake says, all right, then, let's. And Chris's Stone says,
they had to bleep him saying fuck.
yeah. Before Jake's plan can come to fruition, 3 Hork Bajir wearing gold
Before they were
uniforms.
about to get really weird.
Yeah. 3 Hork Bajir show up. They see there are 4 Hork Bajir in red bow ties lying on the ground, either dead or unconscious. And they find out one of these Hork Bajir, who speaks very good English.
Well-educated English. Ivy League
Yes.
English.
He sounds like Fraser fucking Crane. Yeah, he's like, hey, why don't you guys get on out of here? Here's like 47 directions on how to exit.
Yeah, he's like,
We didn't
follow these
bother-
extremely complicated directions. We didn't make you a map.
Yeah, you would think like escape pods would be well labeled, but the Yeerks just, they don't do stuff like that. And OSHA doesn't exist up here.
Basically, for some reason, he looks at the elephant, Rachel.
The elephant
You are
Rachel.
too large in that morph.
You're
to fit
fucking
these.
huge. All right?
But they find out that there is a pod programmed to return to the quarry, which will then self-destruct, which I don't know why they needed to.
It's so that they don't think they can fly it around or hang out there and
Yeah,
have lunch.
probably. Or fly it
Like,
back
land,
to the Andalite
run.
homeworld.
And they're kind of confused why these Hork Bajir are helping them. And then Cassie says, politics, Cassie said with a laugh. It's about politics. Visser 1 is making Visser 3 look bad. If we escape, it will be blamed on Visser 3.
At which point Cassie starts to go into her conspiracy theory mode and is like, follow the money! Follow the money!
So they don't really question it that much. They just take this opportunity and they head for that escape.
Yeah, they're like, we'll die if we don't listen, and we might die if we do, so let's do it.
Yeah, so Rachel, the elephant still, she goes in front. She starts squeezing her massive tonnage into the
God.
hallway. And
I'm so
trust that this
tired.
book will take every opportunity to mention the fact that
We literally just talk about Rachel's hot elephant bod the whole rest of it's so ridiculous. It's like
That's right, because the next line is womp, 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 womp.
Rachel made the steel floor vibrate with each massive step. Her leathery sides scraped the corridor walls so that I could only catch occasional glimpses past her. Hey, down in front, get out of my way. I can't see anything.
She runs over several Taxxons, just squishes them, and then acts like gets overly excited about a battle. Like they start to see Hork Bajir coming. And in Visser 3's livery, his livery, what a wonderful word. And Axe goes, battle! Sounding like he was announcing a party, it said.
we get a gorilla cry. We get hoo hoo hoo, hurrah, as Marco is fighting with one of these Hork Bajir. He swings a fist the size of a cinder block into the stomach of a Hork Bajir. He flirts with Axe a little.
Yeah, but it's nice though. It's because Axe is also fighting the Hork Bajir. It's like out of the corner of my eye, I saw another Hork Bajir leap at Axe. The Andalite's tail flashed forward so fast you couldn't even see it move. The Hork Bajir staggered back, minus an arm. Good one, Axe. Super funny.
Axe says, you as
And
well.
Marco finally
Ha-ha.
admits, I kind of like Axe.
I kind
Yeah.
of liked Axe.
That was pretty hot, I guess. Hold on another episode of Eddy Ships.
We have, I decided right then, I kind of liked Axe. At the time, I thought it was the encouraging banter, where Jake would have tried to one-up me. Axe just cheered me on. And maybe it was the banter. The banter was part of it, but it was also the tail. How it squirted towards the Hork Bajir's throat so that the blade could
Oh my
scoot across
God,
the
Eddy,
alien's flesh,
stop.
creating an enormous gushing gash. And as the gash gushed red, the tail whipped this way and that way like a snake. It was like Axe was some kind of snake charmer you might see in old movies. And I wasn't ready to admit it then, but this snake, He had me charmed.
It's all stuff K. Applegate would have said at one point or another.
Yeah, this is actually, like, no, I found these. These were in her notes. Like,
Oh my God.
So they continue on for the drop shaft, even though they don't know what that is yet.
Shaft? Is it a thing?
another way of
It
saying
might be a real thing, but it sounds ridiculous.
What's
Yeah.
the thing in Star Trek? The turbo lift?
Yeah.
But you get into an elevator.
This is the
It's just-
opposite of a turbo lift. This is just an empty shaft.
It's just hop in the hole.
So we get to the drop shaft. He said to stop after 15 levels. So they jump in.
And they drop,
Apparently, you just think the number and it stops where you want to stop.
which makes me think it's Andalite technology.
Yeah,
Right?
Axe is like, we have these on our ships. It's how it works. As they're being chased, Cassie shouts, more Hork Bajir back here. And some of those other ones, the little wrinkled ones. We don't get any more explanation. We don't.
No, nothing
Do you
else.
think it's
It could be,
Taxxons? No, it's
could
not
be a new
Taxxons.
species humans have never discovered. We don't
Or it could
care.
just be some
Yeah.
old people. Like,
Also, while they're moving through these, Marco takes another opportunity to say, it was like the ant tunnels.
Yeah.
We could only try to escape. So he just doesn't want you to forget that happened.
everything
earlier.
traumatic that happens to Marco from now on, he's going to be like, it's like the ant tunnels all over again.
My dad got his job back, like the ant tunnels.
When Axe breaks up with him, he'll go, oh no, this is just like the ant tunnels.
We get like, it reminds me of like a comedy film type of thing where they cut away
Yeah,
for a
this is
moment
so-
to someone
yeah.
standing on a different floor in front of the drop shaft, just looking like in awe. And it's like, oh, he looks like he has no idea what's going on. Like he's just seen the craziest thing ever. Maybe it's because an elephant and a gorilla and a wolf and an Andalite and a tiger just all went whooshing past his face.
Yeah, I'm imagining him holding, like, he's like the intern. He's like an
Yeah.
intern controller holding a bunch of coffee in a tray.
Tobias gets to take out another Hork Bajir's eyes. It
Yep.
clutches at
This is
its
lying.
face. And then
Yeah.
accidentally stabs itself with its wrist blades. It's like, ah! So it's getting really close. They've only got 5% of their time left. Somehow we went from 30 to 5 really, really fast.
Really, really fast. And just for that reason, we are entering the chapter speed run. Let's go, guys.
All right.
Let's get through it.
I just want to touch on Rachel's stumbling, half human, half elephant. She's
Yeah,
trying
but
to
why
get
is
out of
she
the
stumbling half human, half elephant?
Because they have to
we're
get into
close
the
to the escape pod.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A nightmare of pink and gray with huge ears and human hair and fat arms and legs that had no feet.
Legs that had no
Yeah.
feet. That doesn't, like, what?
It's because it's still, and elephants do
Elephants
have feet.
but they're the
They
same
have feet.
thickness as the legs. So
It's-
what is he
it's
just
the
trying to
legs,
say?
the-
She has like
the-
insane cankles? Like, what is he
that's,
saying?
Yes.
well, that's what he's
Yes.
saying. He's very
and I think they
judgmental
could
of
have
her.
said that, insane cankles, but they didn't.
I don't know
They
if the
missed
word
that
cankles
opportunity.
existed.
It
I'll
might
check
not have,
Engram.
actually, yeah.
They get into this escape pod. Rachel's still large, maybe 300 pounds, but not too much for Marco the gorilla, right? He's a
And
gorilla
the
still.
escape pod was only rated for.
He just
I don't know.
shoves her. He's just like
It
punching
does, yeah,
her
he's
in.
just like, come on, you'll be a human soon enough.
You would think they'd finally get an opportunity while they're escaping in the escape pod to appreciate the fact that they're in space, but we don't get much about it.
Now they're over it,
Marco
dude.
does
They're-
drop a sick joke, though.
Yes.
It was kind of a joke now, I thought. The Yeerk mothership. My mother. On the Yeerk mothership.
Oh, it's so funny. Oh, man. That's so funny. It's not devastating at all.
Before I became fully human again, before I lost the ability to thought speak and had to return to words spoken out loud, I said, Jake? Yeah, Marco? No one ever finds out. No one can ever know. Okay, Marco, he said. My mother died 2 years ago tomorrow. That's how it will be, my friend. Yeah, but someday, and then he's thinking again, someday, somehow, in some way that I could not foresee, we would win this battle. Humans and Andalites together would defeat the Yeerks, and we would free all of their slaves. All of them. Someday, I whispered again. Someday, Marco, Jake said. I just think this is the last moment where Jake is being a really good friend.
Yeah.
Marco.
Yeah, from here on out, he's a real piece of shit. No, I get what you mean, though. I think Jake was actually pretty incredible in these books. And in the past, too, especially, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking in retrospect, I get more why he's the leader, because he's the one who has a particular relationship with everyone in the party.
Yeah.
He has his cousin. He has Marco, his best friend. He has Tobias.
He's the only
he
one
was
who
kinda-
really had a relationship with Tobias at all at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the only reason they'd all be in the same place at once. So really, it's his fault.
Yeah.
It cuts to Marco on that Sunday visiting his mom's grave with his dad.
Yeah,
It's a sad
It's
scene.
mostly just a
This is
really
a very
sweet
sad
scene.
scene.
It's sad, but it's really sweet that, you know, they're both trying to work through it, and Marco talks about using humor as a coping mechanism and things like that. And his dad really seems to like be taking a turn. Like, it seems like something has changed in his dad. This is a milestone. And he says, you know, your mom would not be happy about the way I've been these last 2 years. And then he says he talked to Jerry the other day. And Jerry, as we all know from earlier, is his old boss, you know, back when he had a regular job. He's going to go in Monday and talk to Jerry and try to go back to his old job.
Yeah, and then they start to kid each other, which is like really, really cute and just really ties it into like Marco having a home and them having a moment where they might actually like get back to some of the things they used to do together.
Yeah.
Which is such a nice thought. I mean, this is actually in a large way, actually, like, if you think about it, the happiest ending of any of these books, which is that his mom isn't actually dead. So there's a chance that she's alive, which is, or savable is what I mean to say.
Yeah.
And not only that, but his dad kind of wakes up a little bit. And in a lot of ways, more than any book, the nightmare is over.
Yeah,
at the end
Marco
of
has
this book.
walked into a more hopeful world than he entered at the beginning of this book. And that's the first time that that's happened in any of these.
Yeah.
There's a couple really nice details in here as well. Even when the world is scary and sad, especially when the world is scary and sad, that's when you need to laugh. I just like that as like a thing he's feeling. Like, it just felt very relatably important. And there's another moment when his dad comes in. His dad starts to talk to Marco, and he can tell it's going to be serious because he kind of like gets into it kind of shakily. And he's like, Marco, I've been thinking. And Marco's like, yes. And he says, I haven't been a very good father to you. And then Marco's narration is, it wasn't a question, so I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And I really just like that as a touch. It's a really nice detail of like, I don't know, there's something very fatherly about that.
Yeah.
I made a joke about this in my notes, but I actually think it's like true about Marco's situation now. Think about the fact that Marco now has information that his father doesn't, especially information that's relevant to his dad's grief process. Like, he knows something about his mom that his dad doesn't know. It puts Marco in this weird situation, both with the other Animorphs, but also with his dad, of having a secret.
Yeah.
I don't think it changes what his dad's experiencing at all, because Marco's also shifting, right, in terms of what's going on in relation to his mom. But it's a weird spot for Marco to be in.
Yeah, that's a really great point. That is a crazy secret to have from your dad. Like, oh, no,
Mom's
mom's
alive.
I just saw her.
But
we
she
didn't
has
get
a
to talk.
bug in her head.
Yeah.
Do you think that Marco's mom comes back?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think they rescue her.
Yeah? What about Tom then?
I don't give two shits about Tom.
I think we'll care if Tom lives or is freed.
I don't care.
Next book, when the basketball team loses because they lost their star player Tom. Who do we need? We need Tom.
What do you guys think? Swoosh or Womp?
I'm a
For
womp.
verb of the book?
I'm a womp.
Yeah, for verb of the book. You want Womp?
But Womp was book 4, wasn't it?
Yeah, but maybe it gets an honorary mention now. It's like the Grammys. You never win for the album you
if
should
we're
have
going
won
verb
for.
verb for the book, cowled.
Oh, it's cowled.
It's good. It's just a good verb.
It is.
I feel like we got a lot of good sound effects in the last stretch. Marco's gorilla sound, hoo-hoo, hoo, hurrah. I think that was my favorite. So.
Can you, that it is written exactly like that. You read that really well.
I wrote in my note, no, Chris, you said hoo-hoo-hoo, hurrah. It's hoo-hoo-hoo, hurrah.
Yeah, I felt very teased by that.
Yeah.
I have a joke prediction.
Okay.
This is a complicated joke prediction, so you can fade in the music while I'm talking.
Okay.
All right, that's better. That's better. No, I think at some point we're going to get to, if you replace the head of an axe and the tail of an axe, is it still the same axe, Ship of Theseus joke? I predict. I think we're going to get to make that joke at some point. And I think it's going to come into play via DNA and morphing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Anadorks. We'll be back soon with lots more to say. Until the Andalites return, or at least until next time. See you soon!